Well, let's look at the news. So RFK Jr. is going to put the whole U.S. budget on the blockchain. So that should settle it. Clearly, there's no one else to vote for that's going to do that. So that's clearly the most important thing to do. So we should all vote for RFK. So, all right. Europol is the latest one to try to stop end-to-end encryption. This is something the FBI keeps trying to do, and other U.S. law enforcement agencies. They're constantly trying, if you have, and what they say here is we don't allow any place that the government can't inspect. So we shouldn't allow any online place where the government can't inspect. So that seems like a pretty weak argument to me. It's failed pretty much in America. We'll see if the European Union is going to go for that. I know Russia just outlawed VPNs. So, I mean, they're on that side. So this is kind of cute, and I didn't know this. If you look at how Windows works, it still works quite a bit on 8.3 DOS file names, where you have 8 characters, a dot, and then a 3-character extension. It still creates those names and still refers to those names. And that's the DOS to NT path conversion process. And apparently, what it does is it modifies the data. It removes dots from paths while converting them into NT paths. So that means you can make invisible hidden things like this. See example, dot. That will be converted. These all 3, space and dot at the end of the file name, will be deleted, and they will all turn into the same NT path. So he's discovered he can now create, if you use tools that do not come from Windows Explorer. And all right, I guess you're right. I better unlock that door and shut it, because they are going to be noisy out there. They should have yelled at me. Anyway, so what you do is you use some tool other than Windows Explorer to create the file. You can then create these files, and they can't be distinguished, viewed, or deleted. So it's sort of like having a rootkit. So that's pretty interesting. It calls it the magic dot. And I think this might have been patched, though I'm not really sure. A series of vulnerabilities, remote code execution.
What is this dot thing?
You put a dot at the end of a file name and it will be removed. And Microsoft Windows will not understand the correct name of it. So you can create multiple files with dots at the end of the name, and Microsoft Windows will only think there's one file there, and they will not see the others. So you can hide files like a rootkit.
Have you heard of Snyk, S-N-Y-K?
Yeah, it's in secure coding class. It's a good vulnerability scanner.
Yeah, they had a magic dot. Apparently you can run like sort of campaigns that simulate attacks.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
They had the magic dot recently as like.
Well, I thought this was new. But anyway, yeah.
So it's like a file name and then dot
Yeah.
to hide the file or something?
Yes. Windows will not let you create that file, but if you create it outside Windows, it will not be able to find it. So it's a way to make hidden files. Good. Let me check for comments in the Twitch. Other oddity I can see from here. All right. So this is actually pretty clever. So if you're in Windows Defender looks for certain patterns of bytes, and if it finds them, it deletes the file. So all you have to do is put that pattern of bytes in your name, and now the database will be detected as a virus and deleted. Anything that takes, you insert a virus signature in your name. All Windows Defender does is look for a pattern of bytes. If it finds those bytes, it deletes the file. So anything that takes data from the user, you can put in those bytes, and then it will discover the file is a virus and delete it. So that is pretty clever. They relied on that at Black Hat. And they find a lot of endpoint data protection systems have this flaw, which is a pretty good idea. All right. And so iOS 18 is supposedly going to have large language models, but it's going to be entirely on the phone. All the calculations done on the phone, not making an API call out to a server. So that's very interesting. That would mean the processor on the phone is powerful enough to run a sufficiently good LLM. So that's interesting. And yeah.
They probably do like 14.4, just for the edge.
14.4, you say?
14.4.
Floating point form?
14.4, 4-digit floating point.
Folding to floating point.
4-digit floating point.
Oh, 4-digit. Oh, you're 4-digit, you mean, or they round things off to a certain number?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to 4 to make it faster.
Yes.
Mainly do it at the edge. So
Yes, I've seen that.
same thing.
Yeah, that's true. They probably have to optimize the LLM. This is a good idea, if you can do it on such a thing. And by the way, I'd like to make a project out of this. There's various ways to run Llama 3 on your PC, and Llama 3 is pretty powerful. So
Llama 3 is just released, right?
I'm not sure. It might be the new one. Anyway,
I think I went to Llama 2. So
yeah, I think you're right. So it's pretty powerful, and apparently you can run it on a PC or a Mac. So this sounds like a good project.
How many parameters on this thing? I thought it's a couple billion.
Yes, I think several billion.
The Llama 2 is already 7. So it's very easy to run.
Yeah. So I mean, apparently it's pretty big, and I don't know what the requirements are and all that, but I mean, it looks pretty good. So I'd like to work this through.
Run Llama 2 upstairs already.
Oh, okay, good. Well, apparently you can run Llama 3 too, and I'd like to do it to get used to it. So this is pretty interesting. Apple you can order something at the Apple Store, and you can say somebody else will pick it up and specify them to pick it up. And so what cyber criminals have done, of course, is they figured out how to use stolen credit cards to buy things and have someone else pick it up, and the result is they have no record of who actually got it. They use a stolen credit card, and they put a name of somebody else who shows up. So it sounds like a pretty good matter.
You track the guy to get it up, right?
Well, I guess you have to use a fake ID to pick it up. I don't know how.
You can say it like that.
I don't know how much you have to prove who you are to pick it up. Only after they pick it up do they pay, presumably through the secondhand store. Anyway, but it's essentially a social engineering trick, but apparently it's working. And so the guy at Trump's trial, a guy set fire to himself, and he died, but he was an organ donor, so his kidneys apparently some of his organs are still good, and they're donating them to people and already saved 2 lives. So there's a happy ending, sort of. And so Android 15 is going to quarantine misbehaving apps. If an app does something it doesn't like, it's going to limit its access to the outside world. So it will block notifications, hide windows, you won't be able to ring the device, and so on. I don't know why you don't just delete it if you're going to do all that, but anyway, we'll see what happens when this comes out. It has not come out yet. It's expected in the next version of Android, and we'll see how effective it is.
It's kind of like give the user a choice whether to delete or not. That's why they keep running it.
Yeah, it makes some sense, although, and I think, I know for the iPhone, they now have the extra secure mode on your iPhone to try to stop the Predator, I think, or whatever that commercial spyware that people put on the iPhones is. Pegasus, yeah, and I think they have something like that for Android, and I wonder if this would be effective against it. Be interesting when it comes out.
Apple, they send out notice that if they find out Pegasus is on the phone.
Yes, they also notify people if they think that some nation state is hacking you, yeah. And so North Koreans are not allowed to, let me bring this up in a private window. North Koreans are not allowed to do much of anything. There's an embargo against them by practically every nation, but they are sneaking into people and working for them, and apparently they're animating animated movies. This is something I've heard about for the last several years. If you have interviews online, you will get North Koreans with like AI-generated faces pretending to speak English, which they don't very much, try to get a job at your company. And part of that is to spy on your company and steal intellectual property, and part of it is just to get the job and earn money. And so apparently people that are hiring random people online, they're hiring North Koreans without knowing it. And one of their servers is misconfigured, and they found that they're doing the art to animate movies. So,
Well, the price is right.
yes, I imagine the price is cheap. And so Grindr, the gay hookup app, has been sued. Apparently they shared a whole lot of data with everybody, including your HIV status, GPS location, HIV status, your sexual preferences, all were added to public profiles and later picked up by their trackers and then sold all over the place. So that's not too much of a surprise these days, in the days of surveillance capitalism, but anyway, they're getting sued for that, which is, they certainly should be.